Supergirl, she's the epitome of hope. Omid is the epitome of hope.
Yo, my name means hope.
Does it actually?
Yeah, it actually does.
Does it actually?
It actually does.
Yo.
What's going on, guys? The What Do You Think crew, and we are back for a new video. It's me, Omid.
I'm Alvan.
We got Alvan here, and today we are doing another video in like our book club book review series. And today we are talking about Supergirl, Women of Tomorrow. This book is going to be adapted into James Gunn's new DC universe, being this first Supergirl entry, and I believe we're having Millie Alcock play Supergirl. I think that's kind of all the news we have on this. He mentioned that it's going to be based on the book. What was up?
There's a writer already attached.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know who it is.
Oh, okay, so all we know is Millie Alcock's attached to it, and there might be a writer attached. But just to give you like a brief synopsis about what this book is about, we just finished it, I think, a day or two ago, and it follows a story of, I believe, Ruthie from, I forgot what the name of the planet was, but she's essentially a farm girl on this one planet, and her father is mercilessly murdered by Creme of the Yellow Hills. And the whole thing is, as her dad is slaughtered, Ruthie is on this mission to avenge her father, and along her journey she comes across Supergirl, and Supergirl and Ruthie go on this like space road trip like story of traveling different planets to get to the killer, and as that happens, chaos ensues, and shit sometimes hits the fan.
Yes.
But yeah, so that's kind of the brief story. Alvan, can you give us a little bit of your thoughts on the book? What'd you like?
Yeah, I guess for the TLDR, this book there's a lot of fluff in the middle. Mm-hmm. So I think that really bogs the story down. It kind of grinds everything to a screeching halt. Mm-hmm. But it has really high highs, mm-hmm. and those are the things that work the most for me. If you haven't read this, or if you have any type of interest in DC or Supergirl, especially for this upcoming movie, I would recommend checking it out, mm-hmm. just because it's a very fresh take on Supergirl.
Yeah.
Because I guess we're going into spoilers for this. This is a discussion of this story. This is not from the perspective of Supergirl.
It's from the perspective of Ruthie. And I know this is where we are differing, but I actually, because what's so good about the book is it narrated throughout the entire story from the perspective of Ruthie as she's telling the story. And I personally think that works so well because you have this like human powerless character going on this journey with Supergirl, and as you see all these wonders and miracles that Supergirl performed, as I was reading, I was also in awe. I'm like, wow, Supergirl really is amazing. She is hope itself. But I know you said it didn't work. Why didn't that perspective work for you?
So I guess I will say both of our views are
valid.
Pretty valid.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you're in focus. Both of our views are pretty valid, but for me, when you are reading it from the perspective of a little girl, mm-hmm. who's powerless, mm-hmm. everything that she sees of Supergirl doing is just so incredible. Whereas if you were actually reading it from the perspective of Kara, mm-hmm. You would actually kind of see her internal struggles. I think there would have been a nice balance if it somehow shifted from Ruthie's perspective to Kara's, because there are parts of the book where Ruthie sees Kara struggling, mm-hmm. and it is from her perspective, but you don't see Supergirl's take on it. You don't hear her inner monologue, mm-hmm. and I think that would have made her an even more dynamic character. Mm-hmm. I will say this book is not... It's not an origin story. Mm-mm. So if you don't know the origin story of Supergirl, this is not for you.
But I think you can still kind of go in knowing, like, if you just know the smallest thing. I've never read a Supergirl comic. I've never watched the show. All I know is she is the older cousin to Kal-El. And that felt like that's all I needed to know, because there is one issue where it kind of goes into her backstory. But what I liked so much about this was it was a seasoned Supergirl. And to talk about how he was saying he wanted the internal monologue of Supergirl, I thought what worked so well about it is, since you actually don't get that, you almost kind of forget that Supergirl is also human in the way where she has her own struggles, and she always has to show that she is strong. And when she does break in the book and Ruthie sees that, I'm like, all right, I kind of forget. I was like, oh no, these are real characters, and she can only put on this facade for so long, and as she gets beaten down, and you finally see her break, I'm like, all right, this is a very human character that I feel like in ways that you actually don't even see Superman go down. So I like that perspective of it, but I think I want to go specifically into Ruthie. Did you think Ruthie works as a character, and who do you kind of cast in the movie?
So Ruthie does work.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed what she brought to the story. Who do I cast? That's a good. I feel like you just gotta go unknown. I don't know.
Like a Daphne Keane type pool.
Yes, Daphne Keane was great in X-23 because she was unknown.
Mm-hmm.
So I think kind of going again with that route. The character of Ruthie, Omid and I have talked about as we were reading this. The thing that makes her charming, and the thing that makes her endearing is the fact that she's so literal and blunt.
Very earnest, very literal. Just some I remember she was sitting on the bus with one person, and he was on her, like leaning on her. Like this. And she said, excuse me, sir, I bought this one ticket, and this one ticket entails me to have my own seat, and I don't have to share it. So do you please mind moving across? And he doesn't listen to her, and she keeps saying it in such the literal and honest way that when the guy doesn't give a shit and listen to her, Supergirl has to break the guy's nose, and then you just see the guy have a busted up face, and then he finally respects what she said. And I think having that like almost grizzled Supergirl with a very earnest and like bright-eyed, wide-eyed child worked very well for me. But anything else on Ruth? You said. You said you wanted an unknown. You liked the earnestness. Was there anything about her that didn't work?
I'm trying to think. What did I say that didn't work? I think. Did I say anything? I feel like a majority.
So overall, you liked her.
I liked her. I just wish that it did flip that script where.
Mm-hmm. Different perspective.
Mm-hmm. But there's nothing wrong with Ruthie. Like her story and her motivation is very laid out, clear cut, very good motivation.
Mm-hmm.
She shows
trying
herself
to avenge her daddy.
Exactly. She shows herself to be very capable, especially when you're in the arms of Supergirl.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that you're able to prove yourself is a feat in itself.
Mm-hmm.
So I respect that aspect of it, and she's just. She's great. Yeah, I really liked her.
Because we were talking about this before, and I believe in the book it mentions that this is Supergirl's 21st birthday. So as it was interesting, I was telling Alvin as I read the book, I always read Supergirl or Kara as like mid-20s, late 20s almost, because she's a very experienced Supergirl. So I'm like, all right, she's been around the block, she's seen a lot of shit. So and even in this, she kind of comes off a bit more like, I think, tempered, angry, as if she has like a chip on her shoulder, and with the experience, very experienced. Yeah. That for Ruthie, I was like, oh, I see her as like 12 to 15, around that range.
Oh, really?
Did you see her younger?
I saw her like 11 to 12.
Okay, so I saw her like preteens.
Yeah.
And I read Supergirl older, and I thought one of the best moments Ruthie has, because it shows from the beginning she's a very scared child, and as the story goes on, she becomes her own woman, and she also grows courage, and she's very capable of herself. I loved, do you remember the moment when they were getting ready to fight Krim for the final time, and Supergirl said, oh, you're going to stay back here, and
she promises Comet?
I think it was, I forgot if it was before Comet, but it was the idea when she was telling Ruth, you have to stay back, and Ruth was not standing down on that.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, why is it that your vengeance for Krypto outweighs mine for my dad? And she's like, all right, if you're taking this risk going that you might die, why can't I do that? And why can't you respect my own opinion?
Yes.
And it was like the idea of the back and forth, and she was mentioning that Supergirl knows how stubborn she was, and at that point, Supergirl just couldn't combat it anymore. She's like, all right. And then it was the next panel, it just shows Ruthie climb on the back of Supergirl, like, all right, let's go.
Yeah.
And it was like Ruthie was taking charge, and I love that. And I'm very excited for the movie. That I think the casting of her is very, very integral, because she is a very important character in this, even though she's kind of like takes a little bit of backseat. Mm-hmm. The whole thing's told from her perspective. And if you can't get someone who's endearing and a good actor, I think this character can be annoying or like useless. So I think it's really important on that. I think we both agreed Kara's pretty great. Krem, what are your thoughts on Krem of Yellow Hills?
Very generic, one note.
Mm-hmm.
If they do bring him into the movie, I really hope they adapt him and give him more characterization, because he's not the main focus, he's the MacGuffin of the story. He's the reason why these characters go in the story.
Yeah.
But he's not given too much development. I hope for the movie they give him a lot of development, because for this one, there's a lot of vague stuff that he's a
always
part of.
in the background. It's like, he did this, he did this. They don't really show us anything.
Yeah, and also, he's magic, and they kind of just threw that on us for in the middle of it.
Yeah, how he threw that little glow, and like, where the hell did that come from? I guess the pirates have shit.
That comes from when you have amassed such a huge dark soul, and like a huge kill count.
Yeah.
So he is able to do that, but it takes a long time to recharge.
Yeah.
And I will say that sequence was cool. Seeing her outrun the magic orb on Comet, that art and that visual was cool.
It was like how they had the pulling out. Yeah,
it was like a black hole thing.
Yeah. Yes. That was really cool. But I do agree, they didn't really talk anything about the magic, or like, I think a lot of this was like, maybe they don't give you the context that you possibly need.
Yeah.
But he was great. The Brigands is just another like faceless evil army. Expendable army that I hope in the movie they build them out, and I hope, and like you said, Krem has to really, you want to understand the character, because as spoilers, the end of the story has him in the Phantom Zone.
Yeah.
And I was telling Alvin that in those last 2 pages, like 3 panels even, I can see the metamorphosis of him from a piece of shit criminal to a reformed person within the span of saying they kept him in the Phantom Zone for 300 years. And I love the panels. Like, the first 100 years, he had no regret at all. The second 200 years, he started thinking about what he did. And in the last 100 years, he started to regret everything. And that was just eating at him. And when they finally release him from the Phantom Zone in, I believe, the area he killed the dad, right? Because at the
Oh, yes. They released him when he killed the dad.
Yeah, at the same place he killed his dad.
Yeah.
And I love so much. You see it, because I didn't know the age in the Phantom Zone.
I didn't know
that was surprising,
either.
because they had the picture of him as the Krem we saw.
Yeah.
And when it opens up, you see him as like 100-year-old man.
Yeah.
And when he comes out, he's like, "Oh, Ruthie, I've only been thinking about you in the Phantom Zone, and I regret everything I did, because as she killed the dad, and he was just begging for forgiveness." And I was like, man, it was like, I feel like in other stories, I wouldn't have bought into it. But for some reason, the writing for this, I was like, all right, I feel for this guy. Mm-hmm. Because he was kind of like, I told Amber this, I want in the movie, as your development, make him more of a piece of shit. Because he was kind of like even sexist, where he was telling Ruthie like, "Oh, I'm not going to beg for my life. I'm happy I killed your dad. I would do it again because it was the right thing to do." And as she was crying, she's like, "Oh, all I've been doing is mourning for my dad." And he's like, "Oh, don't blame yourself. You're just a girl." Mm-hmm. And she was like, "What does me being a girl have to with my mourning?" And he's like, "Oh, girls are just needy things. They need their dolls, they need their fathers, and they're so delicate." And just like you see her turn, she's like, "Well, from where I'm standing from, you look way neater than I am," because he was about to die.
We didn't get a chance to talk about it, but I loved the final confrontation on the beach.
Yeah.
Those panels when she places in the middle, and then they both
run for it.
They're both on opposite sides, and then they run for it. He's leaping, she's running.
Yeah.
Because she said when the opponent doesn't have their footing, they're vulnerable.
Yes.
So when he leaps for it, she runs,
kicks him,
gets the thing, and then she slices his fingers off.
Yeah, that was really good.
That was really cool.
Because when I was reading the panel, I was like, dude, she's gonna like finesse this. He's been around the block.
Yeah.
When you see her leap for it, it just shows she punts him in the face, kicks him, grabs the sword from him, and she cuts off his fingers. Yeah. And it just shows that all the training she's been on the couple of months with Supergirl has paid off. Yeah. And she's become her own hero. And as the last thing between Krem and Ruthie was the fact that she couldn't kill him. She tried so many times. She kept swinging, and she just couldn't get herself to do it. And I thought that was great, because it was like she grew as a person, saying that by me killing you, it's not going to undo what you did. It's not going to take away the pain that I had. And she's like, and it was also the fact, I came here to fight you rather than to execute my judgment. Like saying, we're going to have a fair fight and see how it goes. And I thought Ruthie was great. But I want to go into the real meat of what didn't work for, I think, both of us. Was a lot of this is a road trip across multiple planets. Mm-hmm. And as he mentioned, it was kind of filler. Mm-hmm. And I think the one that didn't work for me the most was the most blatant commentary, like the most surface level commentary between
racist.
The blues and the reds, or the blues and the purples. Yeah. The blues and the purples, and it was like the idea of oh, these blue aliens, if you ever mention what happened to the purples, they're like, oh, we don't talk about that here. Or was it the purples?
The purples were massacred, the blues were the elite.
Yeah, the elite. And multiple times no blues, no purples allowed. And Supergirl kept asking about what does it mean or what does it refer to, and you just see the aliens immediately like say, get the hell out of here, we don't talk about that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I got the parallels of like segregation and like racism, but for like I think a whole issue, they don't even like solve it.
Yeah,
like,
they don't resolve this issue. Like it's to a point where I guess the writers wanted to introduce the idea, but maybe they couldn't even find a way to back out of what they put themselves in.
I can understand it's like, it's a tough problem to solve, but I'm like, if you're introducing it without having your own say, what's the point of bringing it up?
Because I guess there's no way to solve it because the problem was already done. They already did the massacre. Mm-hmm. So that means if Supergirl killed all the blue people, that would make her just as bad as the blue people. Yeah. Right? So I guess the best way to resolve it is just leave and go dig holes for,
I guess,
for funerals.
Because wasn't it the blue people paid the brigands to massacre the purples?
I think so, yes.
Yeah, so I guess that was like their way of giving context to the brigands, which are pretty much just space pirates. Yeah, they didn't have any development.
Zero development. Like, you don't get anything from them.
I don't know their motivation. Like, literally, they say they just kill people because they enjoy it.
It's just like literally like bounty hunters.
They're bounty hunters. Yeah. They're bounty hunters, and like the classic Topher Grace line, "I like being bad. It makes me happy." Yeah, like that's just all you get from these guys. Yeah. I didn't like that planet. Did you like the Supergirl origin issue they gave us, where they showed the Krypton, they showed the parents. Yeah. They showed the dad, how the mom died from Krypton poisoning. Cause I didn't know if that's original, but it was the idea when Krypton blew up. I guess a small chunk of it survived. I never knew that. Of it. I forgot what the name of it was too, but I've never seen. I don't know if that's always the canon of Supergirl, but I thought that was very interesting. Where a small chunk, a small sect of it survived. Yeah. But the thing was, they were getting poisoned by the kryptonite, the residual kryptonite poisoning. Yeah. And that's what takes Supergirl's mom, which I thought was really cool and very sad. Yeah. And because this was they showed in that issue was that Supergirl was a child, and I'm guessing because you read it as the age. Yes. Because they said she was 14. I don't know, maybe it's just my own bias. I'm like, I just couldn't buy it as a kid, but I'm very excited to see them do that in the movie because I think that was one of the strongest presentations of the character because it just showed how driven she was, and like as a kid she was thrust into such a shit position that she lost her childhood, and even though she'd been dealt such a bad hand, she herself is very hopeful because her dad was hopeful by sending her off the planet. Yes. That was great. That was really, really good.
I like how he was always like, "You're always going to be my little girl." Like, you're always going to be my
daughter. That was good. Yeah, he's like, she was like, "How can you say I'm your little girl when we went through like a whole destruction of our planet, lost my mom?" Mm-hmm. And he was just saying, at the end of the day, you're always my little girl. Yeah. Like, I can see that being a great scene in the movie, and I hope they don't mess that up. Give us like a whole 10-minute backstory of Krypton. Yes. That would be awesome.
Yeah, throughout the film. Yeah. I think, what else? I really liked that backstory. Mm-hmm. I like how there's no physical appearance of Superman. They mention Superman and Kal-El, but there is no physical appearance, which I think this book also shows that Supergirl is like the epitome of hope, but also she's more powerful than Superman in this universe, which I thought was so cool that they actually took that stance. It's very definitive. It's
like the female with the deadlier of the species. I thought that was awesome.
Yes. I guess to go into context of it, Supergirl and Ruthie are trapped on this planet where
it's a green sun.
The sun is infected with kryptonite.
It's a kryptonite sun practically. Yes. And Supergirl is mentioning, "Oh shit, I'm gonna be weak here for a long time." Mm-hmm. And she was like, "Superman was here, but he survived." And Ruthie was like, "Oh, cool. And if Superman can do it, you can probably do it too." And she was like, "How long was he here for?" She was like, "He was here for 45 minutes. Then the Justice League saved them." And Ruthie was like, "Okay, so by looking at the sun, how much time do you think we're going to be here till?" How long was it?
10 hours.
10 hours. 10 hours. 10 hours. And I'm like, man, that was like, that made Supergirl so badass, so endearing. And it was also built for Ruthie because the whole idea was Supergirl has been protecting her the entire time, and this is the one time Ruthie was like, "All right, I need to protect her for these next 10 hours so we can get the hell off this planet once the sun goes down." And you see her fight like dinosaurs and like other prehistoric monsters. That was pretty fun. I'm excited to see that on film. Yeah. I guess for the ending, because I have some questions beyond the book and kind of asking you, but did you like the interstellar time jump for the ending? Because it's a small scale story. It's all about hunting the man. They get the man, trap him in the Phantom Zone, but we see at the end it flash forwards 60, 70 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what were your thoughts on the end?
I did like the ending. I think it worked for me, and it worked in the context of the story, where the story is so devoid of connections to the wider DC universe. It is so isolated and micro. It is Ruthie's story. It's not Supergirl's story. It is Ruthie's story.
It's a story of Ruthie that happens to have Supergirl.
Exactly. She's an ancillary character.
Yeah.
And I think having the comic book end where she's an old lady, and then Kara comes back to
thank her, right?
Yeah, thank her and kind of just pay her respect, and then that's where they reveal Krem was in the Phantom Zone.
Oh, so it wasn't actually 80 years. It was. Well, I don't know if time is different in the Phantom Zone.
It is.
Okay.
I think so. Don't come at me, DC fanboys.
In the comments, let us know. Does the Phantom Zone timing work differently? Because they said he was in there for 300 years. So is it 300?
I think it should be then, right?
Yeah, I'm guessing, but I don't know if it's like. It may be. I don't know. Let us know in the comments if anyone who's read the book.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you were saying. Okay.
Yeah. I think the interstellar ending worked for me. It was good to see that Ruthie was still stubborn, at her old age. She just knocked him over the head, and then she had this smugness to her where she's like, you can accept someone's apology, but you don't have to
like them.
Yeah, you don't have to like. I think that message that they kind of portrayed with Ruthie at the end was like, yeah, people can change. With Krem, he changed, but that doesn't mean you have to accept their actions.
Did you forgive him?
Did I forgive him?
Yeah.
That's hard to say because at that point, I was already checked out. I'm gonna be honest. I was waiting for the story to end. Yeah. But I think you're right. Where within just 3 panels, it shows how much Krem has changed,
which is ridiculous.
Yes,
and you buy it.
Yeah, which is so wild to me. How much filler this story has, but it also has so much
content, substance.
So much substance that can be told in so few panels and words. The whole issue with the green kryptonite sun, that was one just sliver of it, right? It was like a part of an issue. This one with Krem coming out of the Phantom Zone, that's 3 panels.
And it was really good. I bought it.
Yes, and there's still stuff regarding her going to the different planets. It felt very Rick and Morty. I'm like, you don't need that. This could have been a tight 6-issue story rather than stretching it to 10.
I can see that because even when you see the book, it is kind of a thin book, and he's saying that it's almost still stretched.
It was thick.
Because I agree. Because I think it was 9 issues, 9 or 10.
10 issues.
10 issues. I think. I can see it cut down 2 or 3, or if you want to keep it 10 issues, develop Krem, and. Yeah, I see it as developed Krem. This is the last thing I want to talk about before we kind of go back into the DC universe. What were your thoughts on Crypto?
Oh, I didn't like the fake out where at the end it was like, oh, he's alive. Psych! Yeah, that
because Krem supposedly kills him or poisons him. And she was saying, oh, we have to get Krem alive so he can tell me the poison antidote for Crypto.
Yeah.
And as Supergirl's about to kill Krem, Ruthie's like, wait, you can't. Crypto's in danger. And Supergirl's like, psych!
Yeah, she forgot.
Yeah, psych. He's actually safe. He's being treated at a vet right now.
Yeah.
And when I read that, I'm like, bro, did you guys run out of budget and not give us an issue to talk about that?
Yes, if you had Crypto safe, he could have joined the adventure, but instead they chose Comet. Some dude turned into a horse on Krypton.
A human unicorn. And also, fans, let us know who the fuck is Comet.
Yes.
Because I asked Nick, he's our resident DC head in the house. I'm like, Nick, you ever heard of Comet? He's like, Comet, who the hell's that? And
spoiler alert.
Spoiler. But if you guys know, what is his origin? Is he just some horse that's a human turned horse that apparently loves Supergirl?
Yeah, he loves Kara. That's crazy.
Look, they don't even show until he's like, spoiler, dead.
He's dead. And then they finally revealed these backstory stuff?
Yeah, what? I don't know.
That part was ridiculous.
That's some of the messy stuff, and I think I can do without Comet in the movie.
Yes, James Gunn, do not include Comet. Yeah. You can include the horse, but don't turn him into a human.
Don't make him into a human. Yeah. Keep it as a horse.
And more Crypto. I like how he didn't talk. I like how he's just a dog.
I actually thought they should have killed him because I think that really showed Krem be a piece of shit.
Yes,
It's like in the movie trope, like, oh, if you kill a kid or you kill an animal,
it's John Wick.
The John Wick.
Yeah.
So I kind of hope in the movie they do that. And just, like you can say, there's a new Crypto puppy after the fact.
That'd be cute.
Yeah, if you want to do that.
James Gunn is not shy to introducing a smaller version of a
little
character.
Baby Groot, like, when they say, oh, Crypto died, but this crypto was a girl apparently and gave birth to a baby
to a litter of crypto.
Yeah. So as we're coming down to, I want to still talk about the film of it. We're coming down the end of this discussion on the book. What do you give the book? Do you recommend the people to read it?
I'd recommend it. Like with my discussion with Amir for Life Story, all the books that we're reading, we recommend. I would stay tuned to this series in case there's a book that we don't recommend. But for all these books, the reason why we spend our own money, the reason why we buy them is because we have just a very, there's a reason why we buy them, because we're interested in it. We want to check it out. We want to see what is up with it.
And see a story of a character that I don't think is shown much in pop culture, I think. And I think we bought this for what, $12 on Amazon?
Yeah.
$12 on Amazon is great. Like, stop looking at your phone for a second, read a book. And it's a fun book. And I didn't hear, did you give your score?
6.5 out of 10.
6.5 out of 10. So he recommends it, but as he mentioned, some of the problems were fluff, lack of development for the main villain. But overall, he enjoyed the story. And I think I'm probably landing somewhere, as we're going to keep it with how we do our movie reviews. I put mine on a letter scale. So I'm going to give this book a B. I think it is very good. I love how they represent Kara. I don't think I've ever seen a story like this of Kara where she's a seasoned, jaded Supergirl that has to put so much of her own pain inside and hide it away. 'Cause as you mentioned, she is a lot stronger than Superman. And one of my favorite lines in this story, there's two. The Green Planet one, as she mentioned, she survived 10 hours when Superman survived 45. And her response to that was, 45 minutes. What a fucking bitch. Or what a little bitch to Clark.
Yeah.
And then my second favorite one is when Ruthie was talking about Supergirl and she said, her whole being is hiding all of her powers. So if she sees you, she has to hold back her heat vision so she can take a good look at you. And when she's talking to you, she has to warm her breath so she doesn't freeze you with her frost breath. And I'm like, when I'm thinking about that, I'm like, man, this is really cool to see a super person that is almost stronger than Superman, but doesn't get the recognition Superman gets.
Yeah.
But as I said, it's a B. And in our final discussion as we're wrapping up this video, I kind of want to talk about where do you think this plays in the DC universe, because do you see her showing up in Superman? I guess it's just Superman. It's not Legacy anymore.
This can be a whole separate discussion video. I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Yes, she's showing up in Superman. You can bet on it right
You
here.
heard it first from Alvin. He's giving you the scoop. She is going to be post credits.
I think she's gonna be in the Krypton flashback.
Okay.
If they do a post credits, I wouldn't be surprised. But I think she was cast so early on in the inception of this universe. She has to be in Superman, right? So yeah, you heard it here first. She's gonna be in Superman. But Omid and I were talking about this off camera. It's very interesting when you read the story because this Supergirl is, like he just said, is seasoned and experienced. The way that the slate is, we don't know where the story is gonna go, but this is a very new universe, right? We're getting the first introduction to the DCU this year with like Creature Commandos.
Yep.
And then Superman is next year. So you have to have Supergirl.
You have to introduce them. You have to introduce to her.
Yeah.
Unless they're changing the facts and have it be a fresh Supergirl, but I think at that point the story is different.
Yeah.
Which it can be it can be different, but this is a fundamental difference.
Yes. I think if they do change it to be a origin story of how Kara learns to become Supergirl, that can work, because the cool thing about Supergirl, as Omid was just saying, I just realized it when he was saying that she has to kind of warm her breath up and she has to pull her punches. She is a super being already from Krypton, right? So she already knows what it's like to be in that environment amongst other...
Because Clark left as a baby. He never experienced any of that.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty great. Like, they showed her at 14 was digging graves for every single person that died on Krypton from the radiation, or from the Krypton poison, or the kryptonite poisoning.
Yeah.
And it's great to show her character how hardworking, devoted, and strong she is, even before she got her powers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, hopefully, if it is an origin movie, they can make that work too, where if she comes out of the pod very disoriented, and then she just jots up to the space and then kind of... Yeah, I can see that being the tease. So going back to the bar, the movie starts there. And then the movie is Kara figuring out how to be like her cousin, or like different than her cousin, or just, being a super being after your world is destroyed, and kind of dealing with the terms of those ramifications.
Yep. So, any questions you have for me as we're closing off this video? Because I do think Kara, I think she will have to appear in Superman, so you can kind of let the audiences know, because we have a understanding of Supergirl from either the video games, the CW show, and the cartoons. What is that?
Cartoons.
Yeah, cartoons.
Yeah.
So I feel like for the mainstream audience, especially since it's the new universe, I think you have to make sure everyone is invested in every character you're making. So I do see her appearing in Superman, and I hope they keep with the book and keep it as an experienced Supergirl, and you show how strong she is. I know I mentioned this to Alvin off camera, but I don't know if Millie Alcock can do it. If you guys have seen House of Dragon, let me know. But I think what's the big thing about Supergirl is she has to be physically imposing. And I don't know if this girl, because because everyone can bulk up. I don't know if she can sell that, like, attitude that Supergirl needs. I hope to be wrong. If you guys have seen House of Dragon, let me know. But, yeah, I think it's going to be very interesting to see where it's placed in the DC universe, because this is not a book, I think, especially the way it ends, as, like, the first Supergirl story. So I'm kind of curious with that. Do you have any questions before we close this out?
No, yeah, you answered. Well, I was going to ask you, like, what do you think about its place in the DCU timeline?
Yeah. And I guess our final thing is, David Cornsweat, if you're watching this, we hope Superman Legacy is great. Superman, and James Gunn, we hope he makes some great movies. Because what we're seeing with how polarizing the fandom has become, I think it's important to try to find a common ground. And at the end of the day, we all love DC, because if you guys are on Twitter, you guys understand that there are the really devoted James Gunn fans and the really devoted Snyder fans, and they've been really going at it recently as we're getting closer and closer to the release date of Superman, because it's coming out next year, not this. Nothing is this year, right?
July 2025.
July 2025.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing people are attacking James Gunn for Superman, who want to see the Snyderverse restored, which I like. I love Zack Snyder. I want to see it, but I think we ought to let the man cook. Let's see what he can do. And then same with the Gunn fans, because I saw some people were giving, like, death threats to Ray Porter, the voice actor for Darkseid. I'm like, who does that benefit? Like, why are you guys attacking a guy who said he loved playing Darkseid and wants to work with Zack Snyder again? And he's just showing his passion that people are attacking. So I just wanted to end this video with, we're all superhero fans, we're all DC fans. It does us no benefit to attack each other. And let's just try to keep the conversation positive and not toxic. What about you? Anything else?
That was really well said. Yo, thank you. He cooked.
We try.
Yeah, that was a really eloquently said. That was a really good way of putting it. Mm-hmm. And just really well kind of ending to this video. Supergirl, she's the epitome of hope. Omid is the epitome of hope.
Yo, my name means hope.
Does it actually?
Yeah, it actually does.
Does it actually?
It actually does.
Yo, alright.
Alright.
Yes, that was actually pretty. Yeah. That was pretty good. That was pretty badass.
If they were in school, some of my friends were like, "Omid, I need some hope right now. I need some Omid." I'm like, hell yeah. So that's cool. I guess it kind of ties into Supergirl. We gotta be the hope we want to see in the world.
It was
right?
meant to be.
It was meant to be.
But yeah.
But it's been me, Omid.
I'm Alvin.
Thank you guys for listening. We're gonna keep it locked. I think the book you're reading is was it Last Ronin?
The next comic book is Last Ronin. I'm reading Dune Messiah right now, but
Dune Messiah.
I can kind of I'll probably
hop around. Cause I'm gonna try to finish Doomsday Clock. I'll try to get a video out for that. Mm-hmm. I don't know what Amir's reading, but I know once you finish Last Ronin, you can probably get a video out on that. Mm-hmm. Keep it locked on the channel. Be subscribed. Hit the like button. We have a lot of shorts coming out. A lot of DC, a lot of Marvel content. If you're
Deadpool 3,
Deadpool and Wolverine, I'm excited. I love Hugh Jackman. I hope the movie's good, but I'll say never bet against Hugh Jackman. But if you're a fan of comics, a fan of video games, gym, anything in the pop culture, subscribe to us. And it's been the What Do You Think crew. See you guys later.
Bye.